Focusing on the Rockets and Knicks game here, I know from a side perspective, I know the Rockets they've been pretty good from the start of the season, but since mid-December, they've actually been struggling from that aspect. They've actually failed to cover in their last 5 games as well. I know some travel fatigue is probably going to start to set in for them as well. This is the last of a 6-game Eastern Conference road trip for them. On the Knicks side, they made a huge trade, got OG. And it's really their defense that's picked up since the trade, right? And that's the reason why they're 7-1 to the under since the trade. Opponents are averaging just 100.9 points per game against the Knicks since the trade as well for OG. I know Jalen Brunson is questionable, so he's one to watch here. But if we look at the last 8 games with OG in the lineup, they've allowed over 106 points just once, and I believe the team total is 107 and a half. For the Rockets here from an injury perspective, it's just Eason that's out from the Knicks. I mentioned Brunson is questionable. Hart is also questionable as well. I think if we look at some trends and angles, like I mentioned earlier, this is a tough travel spot for the Rockets, last of a 6-game road trip on the Eastern Conference. But I look at this angle from a league wide perspective. So just modern basketball, right? Since 2020, road dogs on at least their 6th straight road game are 30-18 to the under. And if you look at the Rockets here, they just faced 2 tough opponents in the East, the Celtics and the Sixers. And like I said, I definitely expect some type of fatigue here to affect the Rockets, possibly both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, but more so on the offensive side of the ball. If you look at the last 10 games for the Rockets, their offensive rating is just 19th in the league. And if you look at the opposite side, like I said, since the Knicks picked up OG, they're actually the number 1 rated defense in the league and 22nd in pace as well. So if the Knicks control the pace of this game and continue their defensive, their defense the way they have been, even with or without Jalen Brunson, I like the Rockets to stay under their team total of 107 and a half.
So I was going to ask you about Brunson because the Knicks. First they played some, let's call them offensively challenged teams of late. They've been cashing unders
Yeah.
galore. What do I got them? I got them. I think 7-1 to the under last 8 ball games. But
Yeah.
Orlando's not an elite offensive team. Memphis certainly isn't right now. They got Portland on a bad night. Et cetera, et cetera. So some of it has been facing the right teams at the right times. But when Brunson, assuming if Brunson comes back tonight, do you worry about a defensive letdown? Because obviously when a team's playing without their best player, their floor leader, you see oftentimes a commitment to other parts of the game, like defense. Do you worry if Brunson gets back that the Knicks kind of don't have that same intensity on the defensive floor, on the defensive end of the floor tonight?
Yeah, there's 2 ways. For me, that's the reason why I kind of stayed off of the full game total because we don't know if Brunson's play or not. But one thing that I could think of as far as the Rockets, how it affects the Rockets team total, right? If he's in, you have a more controlled pace on the Knicks side, right? They're not going to push the pace. They're going to continue to do what they do offensively, right? Which is 22nd in pace. Since OG started playing with the team, and if he's not in the lineup, obviously their offense is going to struggle without him, right? So one thing that I thought about was when the bench players come in, the Vincenzo and McBride and all these guys, they're going to have to focus on the defensive side of the ball because they know they're not going to be efficient offensively. So if they do that, I expect them to play some solid perimeter defense, in my opinion. I know one thing that I can think about as well is offensive rebounding and things like that. So if the Knicks are not going to be efficient offensively, it's going to give them better rebounding opportunities on the offensive boards, gives them longer time with the ball as well, and keeps the Rockets with less shot opportunities. So that's the reason why I focused on the team total aspect of the Rockets and not the full game.